All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Sport webinar. Today's date is June the 10th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Art 101, Draw on Your Charts. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else from Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? If not, we're going to go ahead and get started. By the way, webinars are always pausable, and you can even, copy, different things like that if you need to do, to your desktop and things like that. And you can always pause and read. But this is one of the charts that I've shown for quite a while that I believe drawing on your charts is absolutely critical to your success. It turned the corner in my own trading personally years and years ago because I started really seeing on those charts the areas that I would get bounces, I would get rollovers and things like that. So drawing on your charts is extremely critical. You want to, first off, realize that you need to draw wedges on your charts. You need to draw these, ellipses like this. For instance, if you have areas that you want to see if they're going to come back to. Of course, box in a trade, horizontal lines, trend lines. Draw your little arrows up and down until you get really good at seeing the trade. And then, of course, your channels. Okay. Most important is you want to determine if you are trending or if you're chopping. And you do that with the HZ lines and trend lines. Okay. And number two, you must know what the minor trend, secondary trend, medium trend, and longer term trend are. Because, to give an example in the room today, I gave several areas that we were going to hit our head on crude oil and also ES. And if you looked when we left the room, oil hit its head right where I said it would at 55. Okay, so if you draw on your charts, you're going to get these trades and make some really fine money as far as that goes too. Okay, you need to also know what the trend is on the left and the right side of your chart. That includes all trends. Minor trend, secondary trend, medium trend, and longer term trend. Okay, and these are critical, by the way. This right here, to me, is one of the most important things. You need to know what the minor trend is. You need to know what the secondary and the medium trend is. And your longer term trend for your overall trend and your medium trend for your overall trend. Okay, draw your trend lines, horizontal lines, wedges, and boxes all the time, as far as that goes. Just learn to see the breaks and things like that. Use your trend bands for continued trends. That's really important. That's the power trend. We're going to go over that quite a bit tonight. Okay, and if you miss a thrust, you either wait for a retrace or a minor lightning breakout with tight stops. Okay, because I will chase a thrust. I mean, that's one thing that, if you're a little bit of an aggressive trader, you can chase a thrust. Just don't let it go back against you. Okay, and then use your lightning 1 or 2 as your minor breakouts and retraces. Use lightning 3 as a medium trend and watch for breakout and retraces. And we've even got new alerts now that'll actually signal a lot of these trades too. Okay, and then you use your Object Trader tools to see the clear trade setups and use Object Trader to make the trade. Okay, and I'll leave this up for just a moment, so if anybody's taking a picture of it or anything like that. Okay, let's go ahead and go to a chart. And now what I would recommend doing also would be if you're not seeing the individual trees for the entire forest, so to speak. Anybody ever heard that? You can't see the trees for the forest. And the reason for that is because everything's so noisy. If you're looking down from a plane, to give an example, to a jungle area, all you're going to see is a bunch of forest. You're not going to see individual trees. You need to get closer to see those individual. And what I recommend is you can even start with a webinar chart. This is that webinar chart that I use, the template called webinar. Okay, right here. And then you can draw on your chart, and then you can change it to the type of chart that you trade. You know, for instance, if I was going to draw on this chart right now, first off, let me get a show of hands real quick. What's the overall trend? So what type of trade would you be looking for? That's very important, because if you miss this, you really need to study what we call identified swings. Yeah, everybody's getting it. Sure, it's a long trade. Okay. Now, would it be a long trade if it broke support? You know, for instance, if you draw on your charts, right down here is support. There's also a support area right here. This is your primary identified swing. See your high, your low, your high, or high. Okay, this is your secondary. Okay, now to me, it would take taking this one out right here to ever change the trend, if it was to decide to do that. Okay, so I would be looking for something like that if it decided to do it. It's obviously not doing it right now, but that's what you'd be looking for. And this is really important, because you can get some, wrong one, you can get some really good trades if you just teach yourself to see this type of thing in real time. Okay, because when we draw on those charts in the room, it's all done in real time. You know, those lines you see that are drawn, you see the, the thrust, retrace, where's it going, that type of thing. We're going to go over a lot of that tonight. Okay, but now this was actually yesterday before the market opened. Okay, now once you draw on your chart, you can go ahead and just draw your lines. You can draw a trend line even if you want to. You know, for instance, right now I see this trend line being more like this right here, but since you're already here on price, obviously you couldn't get this, if you drew this trend line like with the wedge trader or something like that, you just couldn't get it, right? Okay, so that's pretty much, my charts are drawn on. Okay, I'm ready to, for instance, if this does any kind of a retrace, I'm ready to take a trade. Or if it breaks out at an open, I might be ready to take a trade. Now, what you can do from this point is just right click and go to your template and load your alert template, and those lines will stay on your chart. Okay, those are your most important lines, is those ones that are with the lightning 3 swings and everything. Okay, now notice on this right here, see how I drew this without ever seeing it? To me, it would take breaking this right here to ever break this down, and I would expect either to take a breakout trade, not let it go against me, or I would wait for the thrust, the retrace, and the rollover. Okay, now right now I'm seeing something different, because you've got, in real time, you've got something like this you could look at, because now we're seeing a little bit more the individual trees, so to speak, still with the forest in mind. Now, what I mean by that is when you look at the overall and you've got all these bars and everything, it gets a little overwhelming sometimes, but when you go back to that other chart, you can clearly see the direction of the trend, what's happening in real time, and you can actually get ready to take a trade. Now, for instance, if I was going to take a trade here, I'm pretty much seeing that you've got resistance, you got a little bit of support down here, and I'd probably be boxing this in to take a long. Let's see, would 54.27 be primary resistance and 54.15 secondary? Let's look at that. 54.15 is definitely like a primary. That would be, for instance, where you go for like a scalp trade, if you had happened to gotten in like around mid-band, which, by the way, this is really close to the open of the market. Usually when I trade this on Sunday night, you really just want to go with the direction of the trend, and you want to try to get a trade and see if you can make some coin, and put a nice tight stop just in case it doesn't. Okay, so in this case right here, we're looking for a break above this box, for instance, or a break above this trend line, and to continue heading up, because you are getting high, low, Same high, higher low, higher high. So there's your identified swing, there's your secondary swing. Okay? And so we're really ready to trade this chart. And by the way, I traded this last night with my Top Step account. And what I simply did on this, and I'll show you how I did it so you can obviously recreate it too, and that was to simply tell the chart at 5 p.m. that I wanted to make sure that I was going with a long trade, okay? And I turned off my auto disable at session break. That way my long should stay on. And what I mean by that, see, you're at a session break from Friday to Monday, so to speak, because Sunday night at 5 p.m. is Monday's trading, okay? So if you wanted to trade this like on Sunday, and I'd make sure that my strategy was so that I didn't have too many contracts on. You know, I've got a max quantity of contracts of 3 on here, and that's probably as many as I'd want to do, you know, just in case this trade doesn't go my way. Okay? And we could get ready to take that trade. This is actually Sunday night. This is about 4:30, and I'll show you what actually happened on Sunday night. See, this is 4:27. Let's just go ahead and fast forward just a little bit. Now notice how quickly Object Trader made you money. Now I did this with my Top Step account last night with, you know, real stuff. And when it got up to $650, I think is what it was, I turned it off. And it was a killer trade. Matter of fact, it came perfectly down to support. See it hitting my line that I drew on my chart ahead of time? Could you just get your targets out of the way, turn on your little minor trade, and stay with this trade until it gives up the ghost? Naturally, you could put your stop. You'd want to go ahead and protect yourself just in case. But by the way, I did mine with 2 contracts last night. I did not do 3. I just wanted 2. So 2 was over 30 ticks and quite a trade, as a matter of fact. Now see how that was diagnosed in real time? Now granted, when this opened, your bar didn't close till right here. So you didn't get a fill way down here. You know, this was Friday, so this was actually your fill right here. You felt probably a little bit of heat, and then it went up. Everybody see that? Okay. You can also use stealth on like a Sunday night. Your stealth will open with the bar that goes right even with stealth, and it should have been on that same bar. Okay. And that's definitely not a bad way to trade. How long did it take the paint to dry, so to speak? It literally just shot right out of the gate, and this even went up very quickly afterwards. Okay, notice how, I want to show you something, how you can really stay with the trade with these new indicators. I want to show you something here. I love these new indicators because I watch these white bars. This white bar right here. They should get another one here pretty soon. See there? You can just ride your stop right along with those white bars. And I usually use exit on close. That way, if it does go ahead and get me, then, you know, I'm pretty safe. Now, we had, this was actually at only about a little after 5 that this was happening. See, this is about 10 after 5. Maybe not even quite 10 after 5. It's probably close to 10 after 5, though. See how this little white bar is flashing right there? I'll just bring it a little bit underneath it. Move your targets out of the way. Now, could you go ahead and take some coin? Look at that trade. If you'd done 3 contracts last night, by the way, that was a killer trade. I only did the 2, and I just simply, you know, I had things I was doing and everything, and when it hit $650, I clicked the button, you know, and I left some on the table. There's no question about it. But I've also seen Sunday nights where they'll really pop up really quick and then they'll pull back really quick. So, just taking some coin on it is a pretty good idea, by the way. Pretty good idea. Now notice that white bar, let's see, this one's here. Let's see if we get a black bar now. Yeah, see, we got a black bar, so I would probably just go ahead and click close. See that black bar right there? And that was probably a pretty good out. Pretty good way to trade this, isn't it? Now, if you draw on your charts, let's just go ahead and fast forward this a little bit. I want everybody to see. Oh, we had bar close on. Well, that's all right. We got auto bar close on. Be sure if you ever use auto bar close, you'll want to be careful and turn that off because it will auto fire every single time, okay? You'll want to make sure to be very, very careful with auto. Yeah, there you go. The entry setting on that one, Jim, on your question, you could actually use what I've seen work really well on a Sunday night is either bar close is pretty quick. I'm gonna go ahead and protect that. Bar close is pretty quick. And notice this stealth also, comes into the picture here. See where stealth printed? There's your second stealth even right there. And we're flat. Okay, now let's look at our little chart again because I do this all the time when I'm trading, and I do because in that room we're doing this all the time. So let's go with a CL chart, and we're going to go with webinar one just so you can see the trees, not the forest. And let's just look away from the trees for a minute. All right, and let's draw our little lightning and everything so we can see what's going on. That's lightning 2. Let's go with lightning 1. All right, that's what you're getting right now. Now, that was kind of shotgunning is what that was. But let me ask you a quick question. What would it take for this to actually change trends? If you're looking at this chart and you're saying, this is heading up, but we're now starting to double top, where would you draw on your chart if this was to decide to go the other direction? Well, we've got an indicator for that. Let me just put it on the chart. We don't have it on the webinar chart, but let me put it on the chart. Well, you can't do that actually, come to think of it, because this puts also the bar colors and everything on the chart too. But anyway, I'll draw the line where it's going to be. If that breaks that lightning 3 with the close of a bar, that new little indicator will light up. It'll flash that bar at you. Okay, and that's called a potential trend change. Let's go to the original chart and I'll show it to you. Let's just draw the line first. And let's do potential short. And you'll notice there's no, and I'm going to turn off all the others so that way the rest of them are off. Okay, there's nothing flashing right now. But I want to show you how this, if you draw your lines on your charts, you're going to see how we actually engineered this little alert indicator, because it's pretty cool. Now, to be truthful, a lot of us that have been with Viper a long time, we technically don't really need it, except that occasionally it'll wake you up. You'll see on the chart. Let's turn on potential. Nope, not phantom. We want potential short right here. And potential short, by the way, is purple, or kind of a purple. And you'll see that bar actually change to a purple if it closes below that. Now, does that mean that you take the trade immediately? Anybody? Well, you can if you want to. Now, see, that one didn't change. Notice how it didn't close? If that one closes, it'll turn purple, or it should. There it is, purple. See there? Could you actually sell that and put your stop above the purple bar? That's probably a little risky, But that type of trade, it's pretty amazing that if this is going to go ahead and head down when it broke this, that it should actually hold. Okay. And I'd, of course, go ahead and leave exit on close on too. Okay. Notice how this little potential trend change, though, is actually alerting you to the fact that you very well could be changing trends because it broke lightning 3. Now, could we have a phantom trade down here? We draw on our charts. I see a swing right across here, so I'll bring my line down. And you would expect that if that bounced off there, you might get a quick pop type trade. But keep in mind that if you happen to catch a short first, all you've got to do is just now protect your trade. Because if this bounces off a phantom for a long trade, it's just going to stop out our short trade. Okay? Because remember, every phantom trade that's long was a short first, and then every short one was a long first. Now, it doesn't mean you have to take the longs. It just simply means that you did change pretty much the secondary trend to get that to begin with. Okay? Let's see. No, I would want to see how it plays on the line first. Yeah, I know I've connected phantom instead, Phil. Thanks on that. Yeah, and one thing about this, by the way, if you do break and you want to go to break even shortly after that, see, we only risked 1. Now, is this a phantom trade right here? Anybody? What do you think? Could this be a little phantom trade? Well, you could put your stop nice and tight just in case it is, like above line 2. See, and so far it's not a phantom trade, but it might turn into one. Okay, because a lot of times these phantoms will bounce. And if that takes out my short, I'm not going to flip it, because where I'd really want to go long is right here. Okay, matter of fact, if you wanted 10 ticks, that's probably more than likely where I would go long, is if that bar closed. See it right there? And try to get 10 ticks. And then put my stop nice and tight. Okay, that would be if I wanted to take a phantom trade. All right, but notice that I'm actually still in a short somewhat. So what you can do in a case like this is just go to a second chart instead. You could stay with your short, and you could actually purchase that phantom on a separate chart if you wanted to. Okay, now I'd probably put that right about there, because that's where the swing is. See it on the left? I would draw my line, and I pretty much expect it to hit its head at that line right there if it's going to roll over. And it might roll over quicker than that. We don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it does. And if it stops me out, it stops me out. Okay, because that is a legitimate phantom trade. If we get a higher low, it'll more than likely go up there. If we get a lower low, obviously it won't. We'll see if it does. I'd probably tighten my stop again just in case. That way I'm only risking 3 ticks. And it looks like we're going to get our target. There we did. All right, everybody see that? Now, what if you walked into your trading room right now instead? And you said, okay, we had a phantom. Draw your lines on your charts, right? So I would draw my line right here. See where that swing is? Right there, that lightning swing. And if this decides to roll over at all at that resistance right there, or even lower, I would short this thing, because it's not getting back up to mid-band either. It did break down, so it is a short, but it's also a long phantom. Everybody see that, right? We got a long phantom. We got 10 ticks, or it looks like we got 12, didn't we? Let's see, I had to leave. I just got back. Did you mention what platform you're using? Richard G., on your question, we always use the NinjaTrader platform. And everything that we've designed is in NinjaTrader 7 and 8. Is Object Trader Perfect range bars a no-gap range bar? And if so, should all the bars change to that type when using it? Well, you can use the Object Trader Perfect range if you want to. Pardon me, I might have coughed in the microphone. I tried to mute it. A regular range bar is simply going to be a 4-range bar, but it goes with the price of, what's ever at the exchange. And with a perfect type range bar, there's no gaps. So, it's a little bit more, not so much like a Ranco, but it's a little smoother. Oh, look different than Ninja. The reason it looks different than Ninja and Chart Trader, Richard G., is because this is not Chart Trader. This is actually our little tool that we developed called Object Trader. You can actually take bar close trades, region trades. You can take, well, let me just get it over here so you can see it. If this is over here, you'll be able to see it because it's going on over on a different monitor on me. I'll show you the different trades it'll take. It'll take a region trade, a bar close trade, lightning 1 and 2, predictors, ray trades, sniper trades, stealth trades, time trades, and wedge trades. To give you an example, like right here, could we, if we decided that we wanted to take a little wedge trade, could we very possibly do that with this little wedge trader? And I'd probably do a touch. Sure you can. Because if this does break this little trend line, more than likely it's going to head down, because that's what you're doing. You're drawing on your charts. For instance, like right here, let me draw this a little bit better. If you put your trend line just right with the thrust retrace, that's a legitimate trend line. Okay, because you have 2 points to draw it on. Now it's better with smaller bars if you have 3 points to draw it on, but a lot of times this will work quite well too. Okay, let's speed this up. This was big time slow last night. Okay, there you got you a trade. Now you'd want to put your stop just above the swing, like so, and then ride your runner. Okay, that's what we call a trend line break. By the way, using these tools on your charts, that's exactly like doing all of this. We've designed Object Trader to where you can draw boxes, you can use horizontal lines, you can use wedge trades, you can even use channel trades. That's our ray trade that's called a ray channel. And then you can even use the wedge trade as a break to the upside and break to the downside as an actual triangle. That's the way we designed Object Trader. So for instance, when I did this wedge, I did a single line, but I could actually do a dual line if I wanted to. Let's say, for instance, that I thought if this was to decide to break up, maybe if it took out something like this wedge right here, that I might even want to reverse this trade, I can actually even tell it to reverse it if I want. Okay, and for it to go through that line, it would actually be reversing the trade if it did decide to take that out. Now right now we're still short and it looks like we're still okay. Okay, drawing on your charts is my personal opinion, is absolutely critical to your success in trading. I don't know why that particular chart did this. See those blue bars and yellow bars? That's not correct. So let me redo the template. We'll go ahead and redo the template. Yeah, we designed Object Trader to be just exactly like you're drawing on your charts all the time. What you're looking for when you're trading is simply highs, lows. If you get lower highs, they happen to break lightning 3, that's more than likely going to be a trend change. Now, could this have been a phantom? We got the phantom, but it's not looking like it's taking out resistance, is it? See, so you draw on your charts and you see that, right there where it broke down, it has not checked it yet. Now, if it was to check it and decide to go ahead and pop through it, we'd be looking for longs again. And your phantom traders are still long as long as it didn't close back inside the box, but I think it actually wicked it. See, if you took this trade right here, it's just wicking it so far. Everybody see that? You think this could? I mean, this could easily basically reverse on us, couldn't it? We'll see. We'll see if it does. Now keep in mind that more than likely you'd want to actually be long on this on the Phantom right now to begin with. Let me show you just real quick. I'll kill this one for just a second. I'll show you another way to trade this with Object Trader 2. Let's go ahead and go back over here. Okay, so far your little black bars, you had a black bar here and a black bar here. So they're not really taking out this black bar yet, are they? Right here, they're kind of testing it. So if I was going to trade this from right here, let's say that you walked in your room and you already missed the Phantom. You're trying to get a short, like up here, at resistance. But what if it decides not to go all the way up there? Then you can actually still trade it. We've got another tool in here called Power Meter. We've also got the wedge again. We've got the boxes. If you want to do a region, for instance. Let's say, for instance, we see this all the time. This is line 2 right here. If they happen to close back below it, could you actually short this trade? Because it might be heading down then if you got a lower high, right? So we could actually do this little trade here. And I usually like a touch +2 myself. See how I can pretty much tell this is still heading down? Look at that stealth. And it got another red stealth right here. So this is screaming to head down. And I wouldn't take it long right now because we already got our Phantom, unless it was to hit this resistance, come up above it and rest around mid-band and then take off. But see, we've got our charts drawn on, so we know what our trade is, right? Let's draw this one here, see your swing. And we'll draw this one right here, which is resistance. All right, let's see if we can get a little trade again. Oh, and by the way, see how that went above stealth right there? You can use the stealth trade too. Stealth's a little bit more of a breakout, but see how that's vacated stealth? If you get a red stealth again, that will fire the trade automatically. I'll show you if it gets it. Let's find out if it does. If you get a red stealth, you should get it. Like I say, to me, that's too much of a breakout type trade, but we're going to take it anyway if it does it. There's your red stealth. See the red stealth right there? Fired the trade. Now, definitely feeling a little bit of heat on a breakout type trade though, right? And I would probably box this in. See how this is just coming to predictor right there? Well, we already missed it, but see how it came to predictor? Draw on your charts. Now, one thing, let me show you real quick. I got this going a little bit fast. Always look at your swings on the left, even what we call your micro swings. See how you have a high, a low, same high, it negates it. So high, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, so this is holding, right? So you have a high, a low, a lower high, and it's rolling over. That's a trade we teach in our room all the time. By the way, that trade will show up on our new alert indicator if you just simply set it for minimum criteria short. See it right there? And I'll turn this other one off. That's a minimum criteria short trade. So if you were seeing this in real time and you're drawing on your charts, you know where it should go, right? And it rolls over, take the trade. Could you box this trade? It's too late now, obviously, but if you were to box this right here, not here, but up here, that's a perfect trade. Diagnosing your chart in real time. Look at this. Let me draw lightning 2. See how lightning 2, you've got a high, you got a low, you got a lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low, same high about, and then a lower low. Okay, So this is telling you you've got a high, a low, high, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, so that's what we're expecting this to do, is actually to do a lower low again. Okay, and we would naturally put our stop just above that swing with exit on close. Everybody see that? Okay, so let me ask you another question. If you were drawing on your charts, what would you think the next trade would be on this chart if it does decide to break, or if you weren't even in a trade and you were wanting to see if you could get a trade? Anybody? Let's see if we can draw it ahead of time. Hopefully we can. Let's close this out. Let's pretend you don't even have a trade on this chart right now. All right, and we're going to figure out where the next trade is based on drawing on our chart. So let me get rid of these lines, and I'm going to start drawing on my chart. Okay, if this was to break down and come back and kiss, I would expect it to kiss right here. That's if it breaks down. So I draw on my chart. I don't expect it to take this out if we're going to head down any further. Okay, because you have to have a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low to be a trend, right? Okay, so we don't expect that to be taken out. So let's see if we can draw on our charts and get the next trade. I also see a swing over here, looking to the left to trade the right. All right, so let's fast forward this a little bit and let's see if our lines actually paid off on this chart. And we'll find out. It did, didn't it? See there? I drew it ahead of time. What did we expect on this trade? Draw on your charts and you're going to see where they're going to hit their head. Now, we didn't get that trade because I fast forwarded it, but everybody see, if you draw on your charts, you just look to the left to trade the right. Draw on your charts. And if you change this to that webinar chart, you'd see that we drew it right at the swings. See, we drew this swing, we drew this swing, and we knew it couldn't go this high because you have a low, you have a high, you have a lower low. So you expect a lower high, right? So they can't take this out or they wouldn't be heading down. Okay? And you've always got to see that. You've got to see that when you're trading, you're looking at this kind of action right here. You're looking at a thrust. You're looking at a retrace. You know, this one's pretty much here or even here, okay? And then it thrusts down, right? So is that a lower high right there than that? So then what do you get? You get this thrust, or retrace, pardon me. And then you get this, but I don't usually count that because it didn't take out the low. If you want to see how it does in a little bit larger, like this, then draw this like this in your mind. So now, if this was to decide, for instance, if you're going to still head down, you got a high, you got a low, you got a lower high, you got a lower low. Now we don't have a lower low yet, so this is not an identified high yet. Okay. Everybody see that? Because until it takes this out, it's not identified. We're going to see if it gets identified, and that'll be fine if it does, and that's great if it does, right? Let's see if it does. Identified. Everybody see that? Now, if you were looking at this chart and you were deciding, you know, how you were going to trade this next, what would it take to actually break and take this chart very possibly to the upside instead of the downside? Anybody? It would have to break your lightning 3, right? That's what we did in that ES trade this morning. Now, notice how that came to a line that I drew on that chart exactly. Because see how this swing is right here to the left? You got a high, you got a low, you got a lower high, lower low. And what do? They come back and they check these swings. You'll see it time and time again. And our predictors draw in real time, okay, because it's looking at that swing. it's looking to the left to trade the right, and it's saying, okay, where's another swing and it doesn't see one, right? But it sees this one. Because this swing at that time was broken, so what do? They check it as resistance. So when they do that, you as a trader, if you think about it, for instance, if you decided to go ahead and try 2 contracts on that and just simply go for that low at the bottom, you probably got yourself easily a good $300 trade. And by the way, that's not too shabby of a trade to get, right? Definitely not too shabby of a trade. Now, what would it take to actually change this trend completely? Anybody? If it was to decide to. Now, oil made, it doesn't always have to decide to. Oil was in a pretty good downtrend after it had that monster move that I happened to get last night. And I knew when they shot up like that, keep in mind, when you're trading, if you happen to get a trade like this, like I got, and turn on your little white bars, don't give them back a bunch of money like all the way to mid-band. There's no reason for that. Okay, because from here to here is 24 ticks, and that's 240 per contract. But if you use these little tools that we've built into Object Trader, and you see these little white bars and everything, and you see your little black bars, and you see line 6, see how this perfectly hugged stayed above line 6? So when they take out line 6, you're done. Now granted, it bounced again, and you could have taken that trade, but why let it go all the way down here? I'd rather take a halfway pullback than all the way to mid-band. Let's see, has anybody got a question? Just one second. Gary, you have those pink dashed lines on your charts. What are those? Those are swings, David, on your question. That's actually this indicator right here, and it's in your package. It's called Object Trader Swing High Low, is what that is. That's just simply looking at when it's made, like a high or a low, it's going to draw those lines, and it does it until they're broken. Okay? See, like for instance, let's see if we've got some more. Yeah, it definitely broke through here, didn't it? Now, let me ask a quick question again. This is, 9 o'clock at night. Where would your next trade be on this chart? Anybody? I draw on my charts to see. Now, if this was to decide, for instance, to take out Lightning 3, you could have a trend change, but you have not had a phantom trade. Now, what I personally like to watch for is these get close to mid-bands and predictors. Charles teaches us all the time. I like his webinars also. When you get in this little sweet spot right here between line 3 and line 5, that's a really good area for those shorts. This is your sweet spot you're looking for. Now, when they go higher than that, you're looking for this trade, and it's this little sweet spot. It's called a phantom trade. And that would not be a trend change yet, because looking to the left to trade the right, see how they're barely taking out these lows? Now, we don't know how much lower they're going to go, but this is barely identified on the swing. This is identified right here. Looking to the left to trade the right, this is definitely identified. So if you were to get, let's see if we get it. I'm not sure if we will. Find out. Yeah, see, it's not taking out that low. Yep, definitely not taking out that low. Took it out. All right. Now you've got an identified swing here and here. Okay. Now, if you were up at 9 o'clock at night, this is what time this is, what type of trade would you be looking for on this chart? Anybody? Because you got to make up your mind pretty quick, because are you taking a long, or are you looking for a short? Well, if they break that Lightning 3, I usually look for longs. So here's what I would be looking for. First off, I'm looking for a phantom trade. See, they broke Lightning 3. See it right over here? I'd be looking for a phantom trade for like 12 ticks or so. And it looks like we may have already gotten it, so we didn't get it. Now, does this look like you could box this little trade in? Anybody? If you're drawing on your charts, could you box that little trade in? That's not usually good enough for me. That phantom, you barely got a phantom on that, and we missed it. So I would be looking for, personally, a little bit more oomph on that. If you took this phantom, you got 10 ticks, by the way. I was trying to draw that in time, but unfortunately, see it right here? That's where we had our little box drawn. See, that's your phantom there, but it went lower, so the phantom's in between line 6 and line 7. So that would definitely be your phantom trade, but you already missed it. So what is this little chart trying to do right now? Anybody? They're trying to get a low, a high, higher low, and a little higher high. So could you box this in at mid-band and see if you could get 10 or 12 ticks? Well, you can, but what I'd recommend when you're trading this background, you're looking for this trade, and then be careful taking other type of trades. Okay? But if you're going to take this one right here, as a matter of fact, I would probably already be in this because you've got a swing here. See it right here, and they just checked it. Yeah, I'd be looking long, but, you know, would it very possibly hit its head? Well, you don't know yet, but looking to the left to trade the right, you do have a swing there. Let's see if we can get a quick little, I'm going to just take 2, but I'm going to put a really tight stop. Exit on close. And, yeah, I'll try to get up there. I wish I would have done it with not 2, but with 2 separate targets, in other words, because that's what I would have wanted to go for, was 2 separate targets. But let's see if we can get this little trade. Let's try to get to that top right there. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten my stop just in case we made a mistake. Everybody see that? Thrust, retrace, thrust. So that's support right across there. Now keep in mind, this is a red background. So this is actually what we call a boxed in trade. That's a little 1, 2, 3 reversal is all that was. Okay, let's see if it works. Almost got it. Didn't quite get our target. That makes me a little nervous. See how it didn't quite come up high enough? So we should have faded our target just a little bit more is what we should have done. Now, if you saw this right here, what would you do? Anybody? What would you think you could do on this particular little chart setup right here? Because this is what we all run into right here. You know, we didn't take our profit on that one. It didn't quite get to our profit target. So we gave up a little bit on that trade, didn't we? Punt. Lewis, when you say punt, what do you mean? You want to just skip this one? Because you could definitely skip this one. Or you could wait and see if, for instance, well, let's just check it out. Let's let it go forward a little bit. We'll watch it for a minute. Okay, I'm going to draw a line. Anybody see why I'm drawing this line right here? See there, lightning? I'm going to draw lightning right there. Now, judging by what's going on, we should technically start heading up a little bit because we did take out our lightning 3 in 2 places. Okay, so I would probably be willing to take a shot at this trade if they took out mid-band again. What do y'all think? Anybody? You want to try it? I'd probably, more than likely, if that closes above that line, I'd go 1 because it held support. See that? Looking to the left to trade the right. It held support. Okay, let's see if we can get up to that top. And I would probably box it in, or you've got resistance right here. See it where that line is? If it closes above that, you might even do like a region. Box it and see if we can get a little trade. Now keep in mind, this is a little bit more of an aggressive trade, but we diagnosed it with the fact that it took out lightning. So even though you got a nice phantom trade, which we missed, this may be a thrust retrace and another thrust. Well, the red stealth, Greg, on your question, if you're going to take this little trade here, I'd highly recommend just drawing on your chart. And if it bounced off a support over here on the left, see your thrust, retrace, thrust on the left, and then a little pullback and another thrust. This particular one, what I call my secondary swing, usually holds on pullbacks. So I wouldn't be too afraid to take that, but let's do it more conservatively. Let's just close this out and see if we can get it conservatively. How about a trend line? Drawing on your chart. Do a little wedge trade. Something like that. And then we'll put our stop just underneath that line. What do you think? Anybody? I would think that would actually work myself, because looking to the left to trade the right, you know, we are starting to do a little breakup, but we also rolled over from phantom. So, you know, phantom type trade was really good and we just happened to miss it. I like trend lines pretty well too. Usually, as a rule, if you can get a decent trend line trade, they don't go against you if you draw them right. Touch +2, it'll fire. If we don't get touch +2 and it breaks down, we'll have to wait for a thrust and a pullback, and that's fine too. How many of you draw on your charts just like we're doing right here? Always look to the left to trade the right. Now that's one tick above it. That should fire any second if we get another tick, because it's got to have a confirmation tick. And I will definitely put a nice tight stop on it if it happens to fire. Okay, it fired, so I'm going to put a nice tight stop on it. Would you be willing to risk 7 by looking to the left to trade the right? Thrust, retrace, thrust. That's a long trend on the left, and it's a phantom on the right side of the chart, but it is starting to stair step up. Everybody see that? Follow that drawing? Yeah. Now, keep in mind that if you trade like this, you're going to be better off if you trade the phantom trade in this kind of a background. But we missed it, so we're trying to actually get the opposite trade, because I was trying to do it and it was too quick. But see where I drew this box? When you draw this box for a phantom trade, that's usually good for a mid-band trade on that first time in after a trend change. Everybody know what I'm talking about on a phantom? First off, you have to go from one extreme, long trade, mid-bands, long colors, to a short mid-band, and you're looking for first time into phantom after a trend change, and you're trying to get to mid-band. If you can get this trade right here, that's 6 ticks and 6 ticks. That's a 12-tick trade, even without getting in at line 7, which you don't always get, but you usually get line 6. And that mid-band trade right there for a good 10-tick trade is not too shabby. And you can usually do it twice. If you happen to, you know, go back above line 6 and go back below it, you take it again, that's fine too. Okay, because this phantom trade right here is the way you would draw that. So if you were using a region, you'd fire short, Okay, now we're firing along simply because this side of the chart is holding and I've got a really tight stop on it. Okay, let's see what actually happens here. Now, if you're a little bit, yeah, we're going to be okay. Looking to the left to trade the right, I see a swing over here. Now I'm going to tighten my stop as soon as that closes up. If it closes up, it may not. See how they wicked it? That's good enough. Getting a higher low. Higher low again. There you go. See how your lightning's heading up? So now we're protected with at cost. We can't get hurt on that trade. There you go. You just got a trade. Now, how did I diagnose that in real time, though? Because we teach this particular trade. You look to the left to trade the right. You're looking at lightning 3. Okay? Notice that your potential trend change will also fire off. Let me show it to you real quick. Now, it doesn't mean you take a long trade right then and there, because you're going to get slapped most times if you do. But let me show you where this will actually turn that little bar on. Let me turn these off. And I'll turn this one on right here. All right, so here's lightning 3. See that bar right there? That's telling you that lightning 3 has been broken. Okay, let me turn these little ones off. We don't care about them. Let's see, minimum criteria will turn off, and potential on both of them is fine. Now, like I said, don't get in the habit of just taking a break, because that's a breakout trade. They're always going to retrace on you, okay? But when they retrace, they usually get a higher low, and if you look to the left to trade the right and you draw on your charts, you'll see the swing in real time, and you'll be able to actually take a trade before most traders get in the trade. Okay, let's see, where do you put your stop on Phantom? Michael, on your question, if you were to take this Phantom trade, and this, like I said, this is a beautiful trade to take too. I like to personally just short line 6 if they have a bar closed below line 6. Okay, and usually if it even tries to wick it below line 6, I'll grab it right away. Now this one didn't, this one did. Okay, so you could be short on that bar right there, and your stop, usually as a rule, I don't like to go to line 8 because, you know, that could be a trend change. So as a rule, if I take this trade right here, I don't let it go in the shadowed area. Because let's look at that if you were doing it in real time, okay? Let's say that you're looking for a line 6 trade, and they happen to get it right in through there, okay? That bar closed down below line 6. So you're in the trade. Now, you can't put your stop above the bar because they'll take that out. So what I would do in a case like that would be to put my stop just right here, or even just inside that shadow. Because as a rule, a Phantom trade will hold this shadow and head on down if it's going to do it. And so you're in that trade, and you got you a decent little trade. And what you want to do is you want to actually take profit at the mid-band. Okay? And what I normally do when I'm trading this particular trade is I watch the next bar. Closed up, didn't it? Okay, so if you take it at mid-band, that little trade, let's say that you got filled, let's just say you got filled at 32. Well, that's definitely a 10-tick trade. See there? So if you take your profit, you know, right around this mid-band, you can usually get easily 8-10 ticks pretty easily, because that first time in on Phantom after a trend change is a pretty darn good trade. Okay, so this is the trade, and you could set up your little region trade to actually be there and take that trade for you too. Okay, so you take it here, that's 10 ticks. You take it here again, that's more than 10 ticks. You know, if they go through mid-band, see like this one did, see the bar down, bar down, bar down, bar down, bar up, I would not let them take out that black bar. So that trade would be 10 ticks also. So let's say if you did 2 contracts, that's for the sake of saying, let's say you got 9 ticks. That's a $180 trade, and that's a $180 or $200 trade. rather than just holding on to a trade. Because what if you shorted it up here and you're thinking, wow, this is heading down, and then it did that instead? And our trend line pretty much nailed that trade, didn't it? So now, looking at the chart, what would you do with this particular chart? If you were going to decide to take this trade, what would you do if you decided to take it? Now, I'd like to look to the left to trade the right, as always. So I'm going to look to the left, and I see a high. Okay, I got a low, a high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So definitely our lightning threes were taken out, right? But they didn't take out the swing to the left as of yet. All right, and if you were going to be in this trade again, by the way, I'd probably already be in it because it came right down, if you were drawing on your chart, right to that line. And I would put a very, very tight stop on it because it didn't take out the swing to the left on our lightning three where it started breaking down with that ABC. Okay, so let's fast forward this to the time where we trade. And let me show you how you can diagnose the chart first thing in the morning. Let's just fast forward this thing all the way to 7:55. Broke down, didn't it? Let it go ahead and go for about 3 more hours, but it goes pretty quick. See, it goes like five minutes or so at a time. I'm going 500 times. Okay, now to be fair on this, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this chart instead, because I want y'all to draw on your chart and see if we can identify the next trade. And we're going to stop it at 7:55. That's when I open the room. $7:13, $7:20, $7:30, $7:34, $41, $45, $48, $51. Good enough. All right. Let's get this out of the way. Now, if you were diagnosing your chart on here, first off, don't use lightning 1 right off. Let's use lightning 3 first. Let's draw it. So overall, you've got a low, a high, higher low, higher high, higher low, same high. Okay, so by what I taught you just now, looking at this chart, what are you looking at to very possibly do? Anybody? Because we traded this today, if anybody remembers. We traded it at 8 o'clock, wasn't it? 7:55. Okay. I got people saying long. I got some people saying short. So which is it, everyone? What says the team? Well, let's look at the actual chart and let's see. We got a long trend, but keep in mind one thing you want to really look at the open of the market, on oil especially, and the other instruments too. Let's look at this. We have a rose-colored midband. We have a green background. We have a trend line that we could drawing on our charts. And we got another trend line we could draw. And we got another trend line we could draw. Kind of right through there. It is breaking up a little bit, isn't it? Okay. So at the open of the market, you're ready to trade. It's almost 8 o'clock. We got a nice little tool, by the way, that'll help you on this. I want to show you something here that's pretty cool. Let me see if I've got it set. We'll set it if we don't have it set. Time regions. Today's the 10th, 7:59. That's when it'll fire. Okay, you got you a quick little pop long. Everybody see that? Above the little trend line. And it's just now 7:55. Our little box draws in 3 minutes. Let's fast forward a little bit. And there's our little box. Okay, now you just walked into your trading room and you're getting ready to take a trade. Okay, so what a lot of our people do, by the way, if you weren't already long down here at mid-band, to give an example, okay, and by the way, when I traded this morning, I actually got long right in through here because I saw this was getting higher lows and happened to about 6 o'clock right here, boxed it in, and it gave a nice little monster trade. But let's just go back to the open and let's see. We'll do a region. We'll draw a resistance. Man, we already got it. I just had it on touch, unfortunately, instead of touch plus 2. I like personally touch plus 2. That's one thing I got to get changed on the new object trader, is to where instead of just touch when you switch it over, that you can actually have it default at the touch plus 2. Now keep in mind what happens with these markets is they can go sideways or they can go up all night or whatever, but I want to show you a trade that I think works out really well too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on stealth, and we'll see which one of those trades we get. There's a little long trade. Put our stop just underneath the swing. And by the way, at the open with that box like that, you could actually reverse that if that breaks that swing. See there? See how it broke that swing? Because they do that at the open. And there's been times where if you're in the wrong side of the trade, you got to get out of it quickly and go the right direction that they decide to take it at the open. Now, I'd probably even add if red stealth showed up again. See if it'll pop up a little bit and you get a red stealth, or down, whichever. There's red stealth. Just got one more. Everybody see that? Now, we used to, years ago, actually take a trade based on stealth when the room opened each day, because that can be a pretty powerful little trade. And these boxes, by the way, when they're drawn automatically in that room, those can actually be pretty powerful little indicators to tell you which way to take a trade. Okay. Now, we would have taken this obviously off. I was not paying attention to it. But let's say that you weren't even in a trade. What could you do right here? You're getting a high, you're getting a low, you're getting a lower high. Could you box this in? Like so? What do you think? Could you box that in? Because that's that same box, by the way. That little white box. And by the way, if this little trade scares you at the open at all, then let it go ahead and do its thing first, because they usually will do something like a thrust and a retrace. Let me just show you what normally happens, because I'm pretty sure this happened today too. Let's let it go for a minute. Okay, there's a red background. There's a short mid-band. You're definitely looking for shorts now, right? You're obviously looking for shorts. So drawing on your chart, where's your next trade? Anybody? Let's see if we can peg it. And we're out of time, actually. I apologize for that. We'll wrap in just a second. I'm going to draw a line there. I'm going to draw a line there. And thrust, retrace, they're stepping down, right? You got a predictor saying that they're going to hit their head right there. All right, let's see if we can get a predictor type trade. All right, draw on our chart again. See the little lightning 3 swing? Draw it again right here. And let's see if we can get that trade right there. If it touches that line, I'll take that trade. If it rolls over, you could take the trade anyway, because that looks like it's going to be a minimum criteria trade to me. Let's see if it is. That's definitely going to be a minimum criteria trade. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and take that. It's right there at predictor. Now see if I drew my lines on my chart correctly. And I'm going to add one if it comes up. Now this predictor is saying it's going to go a little higher, so that's fine with me. Let's see if it does. Right to my line. Well, too late to get one. But see how if you draw on your charts in real time, how that works? See how that kissed resistance, and it kissed resistance here too. Now, is this trade, and I would tighten my stop now too. And there's your trade. Now, what if instead of just taking it when it kissed resistance, if you box it in like we teach? Well, then obviously what you'd want to do, let's just close it, would be to box it right there where I drew those two lines. So for instance, if you were to put your little region up inside here, and you drew it in real time because you see your swings in real time, right? And they came up inside that box and they rolled out of it. Now that particular trade, Charles was already in the room too. He took that trade with me, remember? We actually nailed that trade in real time. And I don't remember exactly how low it went, but could you use our little indicator to stay with the trade until it gave up the ghost? Let's see, and then we're going to wrap. Okay, we'll pretend we're in it. Black bar. Held. Black bar again. Holding. When they're that close together, I usually go back one, like that. And then if we get another black bar, we'll bring it down. See how they respect those little micro swings? It's just amazing how they respect them. And then they took you out. And guess what? Is that another trade right there, anybody? You want to take it in real time? We'll see if it is. We'll box it. See if we can get it. We're in. And we got a quick target. That was too quick. Everybody see how I did that? Boxed it in. We called that trade also in the room this morning. So let me ask a quick question and we're going to wrap. Does everybody see the reason that you want to draw on your charts in real time? And if you remember, we actually had an oil trade when the room closed down this morning. Does anybody remember the area that we had drawn on the chart? I want to show you that trade. We're not going to take it. I just want to show you how to see it because we called it out in real time. Just let this thing do its thing for a little bit because it was real close to the end of the room and after the room closed, actually, just a little bit. Remember, I called that trade too this morning. Let's let it go to just right after we close the room, and I want to show you how you can see where trades are going to hit their head. Because you draw on your charts, right? Everybody's going to draw on their charts every day, right? Look to the left to trade the right, and let's see what we had. And if you remember right, I actually drew a little rectangle, remember? And this trade was called out in the room. Anybody remember 55 that was drawn before we left? and it hit its head just literally on the money. And what did oil do after that? Well, it pretty much tanked. I actually got that trade after the room closed. And by the way, if you were seeing this in real time and you said, you know what, that took out Lightning 3 right there. Could I take a chance on that trade and put a stop just above the swing just in case? And I took that a little bit late because I would have grabbed it right there. But anyway, let's see if that didn't work out, because I was talking on the phone earlier to a gentleman, and that little trade was just a monster. By the way, we didn't have a target on it, but you can clearly see. How long would you stay in the trade? Anybody? Watch those little black bars. And they took out the black bar over here. Now, of course, I got that going too fast. But see how you could have taken that trade out right there on that black bar? And look at, matter of fact, there's a lot of times you can flip a trade if you look at that little black bar. All right. I hope this helped everybody. I know I ran a little bit over. And like I said, I hope it helps to see where you draw on your charts and you can take these trades in real time, because they do work. I mean, they absolutely work. Could you have taken that trade long, by the way? Let's say you got a stop in right there where those little pink dots are. Could you have taken that trade long? Yep, see it? What would it take to change trend directions on this chart? Let's see if it'll draw it in real time. Breaking mid-band right there. It's breaking support right here. It's breaking support right here. Could you short that trade down to Phantom? That may be a little late, but let's just see if it works. And it worked. And I definitely tightened my stop. Everybody see how you can see these trades in real time? Draw on your charts. Always look to the left to trade the right, and you'll make a world of difference in your trading. I can promise you that, and especially with our scripts. Okay, I hope this helped out. By the way, if you traded this little trade, you didn't even have to catch this one. This little trade right here was monster. You know, I got my top step today to literally over 1,500 with that trade right there. And I didn't go crazy on contracts either. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you in the morning, and we're going to do this again in real time. We're going to draw on our charts. We're going to watch these little black bars on the shorts and the white bars on the longs. And you're going to find out that you're going to be able to protect some coin pretty quickly if you just watch these little micro swings. And if you get out of a trade, see how those black bars work? See how it just took out that black bar? They're pretty amazing. That doesn't mean you couldn't have shorted this again. But why give them all the way back to above mid-band on your trade? No way that you want to do that. Now, could you have shorted this here like we teach? You know, box this in like this. Box this in here? Yes, absolutely. That's a mid-band trade. And that's also a good trade on a trend line break too. Like that. Okay? So we built the tools. All we've all got to do is just trade them, right? We've got regions, bar closes, lightning trades, sniper trades, ray trades, all of it. And the reason we designed it all is right here, because you need to draw on your charts. And if you draw on your charts with real indicators, you can actually take those trades with real indicators, with a real strategy called Object Trader. Okay, we'll see everybody in the morning. Again, sorry I ran it quite so late. Good night, everyone. I need to set a timer is what I need to do. I apologize for that.